Hi, my name is Arabella and I live on the streets. I wasn't always like this. In fact, I grew up in a rich, successful family. Others might call our family perfect, but in my eyes, we weren't even close to being a perfect family. Maybe we looked like it to the world, but if you knew how I was treated, you'll understand what I mean. Let me start at the beginning of my story. I grew up in a not so loving family. I know my parents wanted the best for me and my brother. They wanted us to be successful and have a good life, but they tried to plan our entire life. When I was about 5 years old, I wanted to be an actress. I loved watching TV and see all those amazing actors and actresses playing in movies, and I knew that was what I wanted to do when I grew older. So one day I came home from the child daycare and we made a little drawing about what we wanted to be when we grew older. So when I came home, I proudly showed my drawing to my parents. And I thought they would be proud of me, but they weren't. They got angry. Or I think I can better say they got furious. They screamed and yelled and told me that my dream was never about to be reality and I had to stop thinking about it. I was very young at that point and I didn't really understand why they got so mad at me, so I listened and I just stopped thinking about it. But when I got older and older, I understood why my parents got so mad at me that time. They wanted me and my brother to work in a store when we turned 15 and take over the company when they retire. It was my brother's dream to take over the company. He loved working in the store and he loved the company. I was jealous of my brother sometimes. He was so loved by my parents, and that only because his dream was exactly what my parents wanted it to be. I finally got into primary school and I made a friend. The mother of that friend was an actress, and I loved hanging around her and talk with her and her mother. It didn't really take long before my parents found out who I was hanging around with, and they forbid me to spend any more time with them. They really tried to crush my dreams. They even made sure I was placed in another class so I wouldn't see my friend anymore. But I started to realize that being an actress is really my dream, and I tried not to care what my parents thought about it. But it wasn't that easy. They kept forcing me to help them in the store, and they told me funny stories about things that happened in the store. Everything was about the store. When we were having dinner, my parents talked about the store. When I was watching TV, my parents would sit next to me and talk about the store. They really tried to come in my head, but I didn't let them. Then I came in a point of my life where I couldn't handle it anymore. I got sick of hearing the store every spare minute I had, so I left. I grabbed a few things from my room and I left. I went to a park in another city, a park where I had never been before. I went there because I knew my parents weren't going to look for me this far away. And you might think that's where I am now, but I'm not. In fact, I didn't even spend one night on my own. A young lady found me, and I felt like I could trust her. I know you shouldn't trust strangers, but she gave me the feeling I could trust her in some way. But I was very young at the time and I had literally no idea how to survive on the streets. She asked me what I was doing all alone in the dark and I told her I walked away from home because my parents didn't accept my dreams. She asked me if I wanted to sleep at her place and I accepted the offer. Now when I think about it, that was actually a stupid idea. I mean, I was lucky, but it could have been a person with wrong intentions. But like I said, I was young and I didn't realize it in the moment. So I followed this woman to her house. She lived in the woods, in a small cottage. When we arrived, she gave me something to eat and to drink, and we started talking. She then apologized for not introducing herself, and she told me her name was Roslyn. And that was actually the beginning of a good period of time. In the evenings, we watched TV, and after a few days, we saw me on the news. My parents went to the police, and I was officially reported missing. I felt a bit guilty, but I was happy where I live now. I finally felt free. And after a few months, I started to worry about school. Because after I left home, I never went to school again because everyone would see me and I wouldn't be able to escape home. But would I be able to go to college or even go to the university to make my dreams come true? I still don't know. We spent most of the time in Roslyn's cottage, where she took care of me. I had to avoid being out in the public because I didn't want anyone to find me, of course. At this time, I already lived for about 2 years with Roslyn. I outgrew primary school and I should be going to high school, but that wasn't happening. I also think my parents forgot about me, or at least they stopped looking for me. And that's a good thing. I lived in another town, so the chance of them finding me is really small. And I'm actually happy right now. Rosalind knew about my dreams, and she wanted to help me live it. So we started practicing with acting, and I had so much fun. So one day Rosalind came home. She was so excited and she couldn't wait to telling me what was going on. She told me she arranged an audition for me for a commercial. I was so happy and excited, but I soon realized that my parents might see it and know that I'm still alive. But I decided to go to the audition anyway, because if I kept hiding, my dreams would never come true. After a few days, I got the message that I actually got the role, and I was so excited. I couldn't wait telling Rosalind, and I loved how happy she was for me. She felt like a mother to me, more than my real mother ever did. Time flew by, and the commercial was already released on TV for about a week. We didn't read anything in the newspapers about me, so I guess no one recognized me or anything. For the first time in a long period of time, I couldn't sleep. I heard noises in the living room, and I couldn't imagine someone being in there, because since I'm here, Rosalind never had any visitors. I walked to the living room and I saw... I'm not sure how to describe it. Rosalind said my name and told me to go back to sleep. I didn't recognize her. Her skin was blue, her hair was purple, and her eyes, they were... I don't know, they were black, but with a little bit of purple in it. I had truly no idea what to think about it, and I tried to sleep. And even though I couldn't, I stayed in bed till the next morning. When I woke up, Rosalind was already in the living room. She made breakfast and she looked happy to see me, but I was terrified. I had no idea what she was, but she wasn't human. She couldn't be. She asked me why I acted so weird, and I asked for an explanation of the night before. She told me she had no idea what I was talking about and that I must have had a bad dream. I told her exactly what I saw, and I didn't believe her. She took a deep breath and told me that if she told me the truth, I wasn't going to believe her. So I told her to give it a try. She explained to me that she was an alien, and she was on Earth to see what humans were like because she was fascinated by them. I had no idea to respond, so I simply ran off. I spent the day in the park, and when I came home in the evening, I saw Rosalind having a few visitors, again. I looked inside through the window and I saw those... I don't know what they were, I think they were like her, aliens. They screamed at her, which gave me flashbacks of my past, so I went inside and I told them to stop. But they kept screaming and yelling. Rosalind told me to go to my room and lock the door. "You have to drink the water I put on your desk," she yelled at me. I still trusted her, so I simply did what she asked me to do. The water tasted weird, but I still drank it, and I stayed in my room. After a few minutes, Rosalind came into my room and asked me if I really drank the water. I nodded at her and she laughed a little. One of her visitors also came into the room. "You have to say goodbye now," he said. I asked what was going on, and Rosalind told me that I had to take care of myself from now on. She told me she wasn't allowed to tell me her secret and she had to be punished for it. I realized that this was the last day I would ever see her. She told me that the Guardian was going to erase my memories so I wouldn't remember her, nor would I feel sad about losing her. I told her I didn't want to lose my memories. I wouldn't want to lose my memories of her. I loved her. She hugged me and she whispered in my ears, "If you drank the water, you don't have to worry, just act." I smiled at her. I didn't really knew what she was talking about, but I trusted her. And the so-called Guardian took her away. He then came back, and I'm not really sure what he did, but I felt very dizzy. And then they all left. I lived in the park for a few days, because I couldn't stay in Rosalind's cottage. But after a few days, I went back and I walked to the backyard where I saw something strange. Something that wasn't there before. A tombstone. My heart broke. I had no idea they were about to kill her. I thought that she simply couldn't live in a human world anymore. So I took the tombstone with me. It wasn't heavy or big. It was pretty small actually. But I feel like it belongs to me. And I know there were going to be new people living in the cottage. So I decided to take it and I left. Again. So that's how I ended up here.